Hey guys, it is June 24th, 2026 here with your after hours recap. We'll try to keep it short and sweet. Let's start with the obvious one, and they are moving effectively lockstep. So EWY is now trading down to about 206 as it kind of is at the moment. So it has given back a little bit of this move, and with it, it's not too surprising. The obvious one, absolutely monster move for for Micron on earnings. That of course was lifting the EWY, which is basically just memory stocks that make up half of that ETF. Really nice job based on where Micron washed out under $1,000 and then right back into effectively a new all-time high on the daily. Incredibly impressive. We are trading down just a touch, about 1190s as we kind of stand. And that, of course, has to do with the EWY rolling over just a little bit in the evening session for Korea. Very impressive, but everything else, to be honest with you, fairly unimpressive. We have seen IGV doing absolutely nothing. Look at Microsoft doing absolutely nothing. NVDA today, up until that push from Micron, was rolling over as well, doing absolutely nothing. Google, to me, doing, again, absolutely nothing. Apple, throw that one in there. And we already knew that about the mags, right? Let's talk about things that actually were acting well today. And let's talk about ITB. Big day out of things that were rate sensitive. ITB, a big one. Regional banks has continued to be absolutely awesome. Been talking about this one for the last couple days, KRE. And then obviously IBB or XBI. Really nice job with some continuation here after building a basically 6-month base. So biotech continues to act pretty damn awesome. Again, XBI, building out this nice consolidation as well, chooses to break out arguably one of the best themes at the moment. Obviously, residential construction today. KB Homes, one of the leaders today, back through the 200. BLDR, a really nice one today. Starting to push up. Toll Brothers has been another. DFH pushing higher today. All home builders, really nice ones. Home improvement retail, diagnostics and research. This group continues to act pretty damn fantastic. PSNL looks like it's trying to push higher. NEO, this is not one that I have looked at. Yeah, this one's trying to push higher. So everywhere you're looking, it's things that are rate sensitive, but it's obviously nice to see these things, working, trying to make their way higher. Anything else that I thought was pretty interesting? Oh yeah, Airlines, as crude oil has been absolutely getting its ass kicked over the last couple of weeks. Jets has been going higher. Delta Airlines has been making its way higher. United Airlines making its way higher. I kind of joked today, who needs Palantir when you have American? And obviously American Airlines, really nice day today, and that's kind of what we've been seeing out of the airlines. So money's going into other places of the market. That is completely healthy. You continue to see super big weakness of Bitcoin. You continue to see some pretty shaky action as of late out of the Qs, but shaky action when it's really just going sideways is about as bad as it's getting for that for the Nasdaq. I don't think that it's doing anything wrong per se, right? Yesterday you had a really nice day out of NBIS. Today it gives it back in the after hours session. It grinds back up a bunch of that. Why? Micron brings some life into the Qs, right? The Qs lifts all the boats for tech. So of course, Nebius was a big responder there today as well, after effectively round tripping that entire move from yesterday's high. So obviously fairly interesting. Don't want to be too negative on the markets when the Qs aren't doing anything wrong. So long as you're above the 50 simple moving average, for me, you are just chopping sideways. And you've heard me say this before, you make a move up, you make a move sideways. That is exactly what we're doing. So there is nothing wrong so long as we continue to live above the 50-day. Obviously, Micron, I'm not sitting here expecting tons out of Micron after basically a 20% gap up. And same way that I didn't expect a ton out of Dell after a 20% gap up. Yes, you did see some new little highs here for Dell in the after hour session. This one could continue higher, but again, I'm not necessarily expecting anything out of these names right now. They need to continue base building. That also is true for a name like ARM, which gapped up in the after hour session as well. So we'll kind of see what the market does tomorrow. I haven't been really comfortable chasing a gap up in this environment just because it's been kind of getting stuffed, especially in the growth space. Money has been going to other places. It's been, I've been over here watching these cybersecurities, CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, but these names aren't doing anything. I would say out of the software names, these have probably been acting the best, but ultimately they have not been doing a lot, and that is kind of important to note. I've been wanting to get involved into some of these names. Snowflake, I think, has just been, acting, I guess, fairly well in comparison. When you look at Snowflake, let's say, and compare it to something like IGV, right, where IGV has Christmas tree pattern, and of course, how can you not when Microsoft is one of the big components of it, and Microsoft's been doing this. When your ServiceNow is looking like this, when your Palantir is looking like this, this looks absolutely disgusting when your Salesforce is doing this. So you can't really blame IGV for doing what it's doing. We'll see tomorrow what memory stocks decide to do for the market, if that can kind of breathe some life into the market. I would say tomorrow on a gap up, you probably should wait for the first 20 minutes of the day, let some profit takers come in on this gap up. Money has been going everywhere else except the AI trade as of late. I know that sounds kind of crazy to even say. Of course, there are some semiconductor equipment and material names, right, that have been absolutely awesome. AMAT, but you get the gap down, and now all of a sudden you get a gap right back up into highs. Think about that for a second. Are you a buyer here on that gap up while you're still already extended from the 50-day? I feel like you're kind of crazy if you are chasing that gap up. Feels like tomorrow, and I'd love to be wrong, but it feels like tomorrow that if you didn't get a chance, or if you kind of got caught in this gap down and you didn't take profits into this extension, you're getting a gift to take profits. It feels like we're going to, and then just continue to digest on some of these things, whether you're ARM or AMAT or KLAC or LRCX or some of the others, right? You're getting kind of this gift right back up. And really, they do need to continue to build sideways. On a name like AMAT, sideways is probably good. On a name like Micron, although you can be very bullish on the name, I thought the earnings were unbelievable. You're getting this gap up right back into a new all-time high. Is that an opportunity to peel some off into strength? It feels like it might be. Again, EWY is going to play a big role into that, and money has been going everywhere else. Crude oil, absolute downtrend. Let's take a look at crude. Yeah, crude oil getting absolutely smoked. Looking at gold, absolutely smoked. Looking at silver, absolutely smoked. And looking at cryptos, absolutely smoked. And again, money going into healthcare, going into airlines, going into food stocks. And again, I have not found my way into these names. They're not the growth names that I'd like to be trading, but again, in hindsight, maybe I should have gotten involved into some of these names, but it is what it is. I am not involved on these names, so what can I do? So we'll kind of deal with it as names continue to set up. If food stocks are going to be the things that are leading and not growth names, if home builders are going to be the things that start to lead and not growth names, then it's going to be healthcare and biotechs, then I'll have to make that adjustment. Those will be the things that I kind of have to go after. and then just put the growth name kind of thing on pause. But I want to give the growth theme the benefit of doubt until we can see whether or not Micron can breathe some life into these names and they can continue to chop sideways, build out new bases, and then ultimately go for another leg higher. And yeah, we'll see kind of what happens from there. So hopefully you guys all traded well. Just some quick thoughts from me, and I will see you guys all bright and early tomorrow morning. Cheers.